Ow!
Greetings, YouTube. This is DecKrash, better known as Brandon, and welcome to another Defiance review. Well, unfortunately, it's more of a retrospective of Season 2 than a Defiance review, of course, because, well, the final two episodes played out today. And so, to everyone, I owe you a big apology. I didn't get the episode reviews out like I should have, because basically I was lazy. But then again, also, I've been working on a lot of things. I'm currently working on a book, and I work 2 jobs, so it's very exhausting. So please excuse me, but I wanted to at least do this for you, because I wanted to talk about Defiance, especially after having watched the last 2 episodes, and I wanted to give my thoughts on this season that has passed. Now, for those of you who have not finished watching the entire season or plan on watching the season and don't want to know anything, I will warn you ahead of time, this is going to have big honking major spoilers. Just so you know. So if you don't want anything, you might want to just shut this off now, watch the whole season, and then come back to me. Okay? Okay. People, good sci-fi is a hard sell for people. Us sci-fi nerds are attracted to it. But to the general public, it has to have something special. And in my years of watching various science fiction shows, the big sell for science fiction is having good character-driven shows. Characters who you can relate to. Characters who are going to fascinate you, interest you, wonder what is going to happen next. Perhaps this is the reason why Terra Nova didn't make it all that well. The show was an interesting concept. Concept-wise, was fascinating. But the characters weren't as interesting as I hoped they would be. But when you see really good sci-fi shows that garner a good fan following despite how long they last, like, for instance, Firefly or Alien Nation, what you see that makes those shows so attractive and something that can be watched even nowadays, as dated as Alien Nation can be, for various reasons. You see, the draw was the characters. In Alien Nation, how Sykes interacted with George's family and learning more about the newcomers and growing out of his bigoted shell and embracing their culture and their people and even falling in love with the newcomer. In Firefly, how Mal and his family deal with their life and the ups and downs and keeping everybody from killing each other, and the fascinatingly different characters they had. How Jane being gun happy and Wash, being the wide-eyed pilot, and so on and so forth. You didn't care that it was a far-flung future epic that spanned all these different planets and had all these spaceships, because the focus was on the people. There's an old show I used to watch called Quantum Leap. That show was especially character-based because it centered on Sam having to fit into various roles with each life he leaped into as he was bouncing around through time. Helping people out, having to muddle through the different situations. It was loads of fun to watch, and the give and take between him and Al, who were almost diametrically different characters, but yet very good friends. And Al's sometimes helplessness because he was only a hologram that couldn't really affect anything that was going on around Sam. So, as you can see, like I said, good sci-fi, and shows like that stand the test of time. Good sci-fi is what is made with good characters, makes it attractive. So with that being said, Season 2 of Defiance was probably the biggest improvement in a TV series that I had ever seen. Defiance started out with a great concept and very interesting characters, but Season 2 turned them fascinating. Each episode revealed different facets of each character. Not only that, but it played it out in a very real way. Not only did it show more of these aliens' culture, especially the cast events, and their technology, but it focused on how their lives revolved around their culture and and the types of people it made these various characters into. Not only that, but the changes that had happened since the end of the first season and the beginning of the second. How it changed Defiance and how it changed them as characters. For instance, Nolan. First, you see him slipping into this easy life, well, maybe not quite so easy, but the life of a lawman after rescuing Defiance from an attack by the Vulge, and being able to be a pretty darn effective guy, even though you realize he was a bit of a rogue and didn't play by the rules. And, well, yeah, in that one episode, how Berlin told him that, yeah, you're Han Solo with a sexy Chewbacca. That got a kick out of me. But, yeah, he was very much the Han Solo-ish type. But this season turned him even darker, because though he wore the badge, he wasn't as comfortable with it as he was in the first season, and did a lot more rash things. And he was quicker on the trigger and a whole lot more ready to bend the rules, which of course Tommy really didn't like. And there seemed to have been a rift driven between him and Tommy for the better part of the season, and I liked how it was resolved, even though with how it ended up with Tommy's unfortunate loss. Irissa was a character you started off maybe not quite liking, because she was always so aloof and acting more like a wild child than really any kind of daughter of Nolan's. But they do explain it in this season, how she idolized him and such. But not only that, but seeing the stuff that she goes through after being infected with that AI system, that is causing her to spread it to other people, and being driven to start up a ship that would have destroyed an Ark ship that had been hidden for thousands of years, and preventing it from destroying the Earth. So Irissa, her story was one of pain. And the way it ends with Nolan and Irissa really makes me wonder what's going to happen next in the next season, which I'm hoping that they do go ahead and greenlight. And really, I can't think of a reason why they wouldn't. The second season, they really hit it out of the park. Another interesting thing is how each of these characters that they bring in, not only just the new ones, but also the ones that you've known from the first season, are not completely good and are not completely evil. I love how this season seemed to play out the moral gray area. Not only that, but also seeing the changes that the E-Rep and everything brought about in the city, seeing the former mayor, Amanda Rosewater, having to deal now with her running the Need Want after the loss of her sister, and having to develop closure after the whole issue surrounding her sister, or at least what you thought was her sister. And I'm pretty sure, like all of you who've watched this series, that was a pretty big shocker. Not exactly something I didn't see coming, because once it hit a certain point I realized, oh my god, she's an Indogene spy. So I was wondering what was going to happen in regards to that, and then finding out that, yeah, she really was dead was it really made me want to cry, because I realized that Amanda was going to have to deal now with that kind of closure. And that she did. And then having to see all the different things that Doc Yule had gone through, revealing much more of her checkered past than I think she would have liked anybody to know. Seeing the near breakup of our favorite dysfunctional couple, Daytak and Shtamatar, in regards to Daytak not giving his wife the respect she deserved. And of course, in Castithan society, it seems that females are treated like second-class citizens. Those two were probably the most interesting characters throughout the show. There was a lot of focus put on Daytak and Shtama and their family. And not only them, but also Alak and Christy, who, I will admit, Denofgeek kind of said it best. was that Christy in the first season was a non-entity, and she really comes into her own in this season. And you get to see a lot more of Alak, and I wanted to see what kind of a character he is, and he's one that you find likable, but also think that he's a little bit spineless. So it makes me wonder, what's going to happen with them in the third season. But back to Daytak and Shtama, those two were a hoot to watch. Shtama is still scary as anything I've ever seen, and Daytak still has his bull in a china shop attitude, which seems to get him in more trouble than anything else. Though he seems to get out of it by sheer luck, whereas Shtama is that slip a very thin knife in between your ribs and slip into the shadows. She's a bit more cautious and waiting for the right moment to strike. She was always more the brains of the group, even in the first season. And seeing them nearly split up and live estranged from each other throughout most of the season, and finally reconcile when the truth comes out about Amanda, who, of course, from the first season that Shtama had poisoned. I mean, Kenya, who Shtama had poisoned, and Amanda holding her at gunpoint. And that was a pretty brave thing that Amanda had to do to stop herself from killing them both. But she did it because of logic, of course. She was right. It would have left a massive power vacuum in the underworld in Defiance and would have caused a turf war. Another character you found more and more interesting. Oh, and by the way, considering the TARS, it still doesn't make you like them. But it sure makes them some interesting characters, I have to admit. Now, back to what I was saying is the other interesting characters, Rafe McCauley, and Rafe suffered a lot of loss too, but you see him suffering that loss in quiet dignity, having to lose his house to the Earth Republic, who already confiscated his mines, and having to move in with the one person in Defiance whom he hates. And that was, of course, Daytak Tar, but fortunately Daytak gets the old heave-ho by his wife because of him injuring their son's hand, because he was trying to do his own thing and trying to run the family business while Daytak was in prison. So that made for some very interesting family drama. And then, of course, what Christy ends up having to do at a later point in the series, where you realize, okay, she's starting to play the game too. So, once again, some seriously amazing development. Also, I love the bringing in of some of these new characters. Berlin, she doesn't seem to have as much of a presence in this season as I hoped she would, but she seems to be a very capable soldier, and that's really what she's probably the weakest of the new characters, but it doesn't mean that she shows a lot of potential. That's what I want to say. So I want to see more of her, especially after having lost Tommy, who she had a relationship with at the time. And then Tommy kind of blew that because he really was still holding a candle for Orissa, and that whole big shocker when they start playing those flashback scenes in the next to last episode, that really kind of got me. It was just how much of a candle he had been holding for Orissa. I had no idea to ask her to marry him. Let me see. Mayor Pottinger, the new mayor of Defiance, that was another really fascinating character. You could like him, but he also had this despicable side that was just, yeah, he was capable of doing things that were honorable on one hand, and then the very next moment doing something that made you want to throw him in front of a train. I don't know what to say about that. But he was a very fascinating character, both doing things that were very heroic, and then the next moment turning around and, my God, why are you doing this? The whole deal regarding Kenya just filled me with such disgust for the man. And then the next episode, him turning around and just completely admitting to Amanda, he's a monster and who's done despicable things. So at least you can understand him. realize that he's not hiding anything. He's not going to lie about what he's done and the despicable things he's done. So at least the one thing that you know with him is that you're always going to know where you stand with him. And that I can actually like. And then this new guy from the Earth Republic kind of coming in every now and again, this Viceroy Mercado, seems to be a real weirdo. But and for some reason, him Pottinger hate each other's guts. So I'm hoping that with the third season, they're going to kind of plumb the depths of that somewhat. And then, of course, bringing in Quentin McCauley and having that big rift between him and his dad over his mother, Pilar, who was played by Linda Hamilton. It was a pretty amazing. And she only came in the last 3 episodes of this series. And she had a lot of stage presence in spite of what she, despite the small role that she was given. And of course, with how things ended, you surely want to see more of what's going to happen with her. But then Quentin being so foolish to sit there and blame his dad constantly, and then throwing his own dad under the bus when you find that big munitions shed that his dad had been stockpiling, trying to get the E-Rep out of Defiance. So it's more family drama that I sure want to see, and especially when they have a new player entering the whole deal. And then, of course, with how the season ended, wherever Pilar is taking his daughter and Alak, you wonder what's going to happen. And then having, of course, Rafe and the Tars hot on their tail, you wonder what's going to happen next. And just the whole deal of how this episode seemed to end makes you wonder what is in store for the Earth Republic. The Earth Republic was run out of New York, and then having that alien ship using the broken up arc ships that were already in orbit around the Earth to start terraforming the planet again. And of course, hitting New York, that was a scene that was pretty gruesome. It wasn't a fiery death. Yeah, you saw a fire, but then all of a sudden, out of all the flames, these new trees and life forms started sprouting out, turning the entire city into, looks like a wilderness, with trees and everything growing out of the dead bodies. That was kind of, that gave me the heebie-jeebies. But now, things have really just thrown the table in the air now, and you're wondering what's going to happen next. And so, it set the stage for some really interesting happenings for the next season, which I sincerely hope they make. And like I said, this has been an amazing season, where the first season made good establishments of the characters and the situation by throwing you into that world and having to figure out all the different things that are going on, the different alien races and some of their technology and such. And also, I like the subtle connections that they made to the video game. I mean, the ego transplants and the arc brains and such, and even more arc fall events. So, definitely want to see more. And I'm hoping that there's going to be a third season so that we can see more. So, that's it for me. This season improved upon the show in just about every conceivable way. Even the intros and the visual effects, the characterization, the plots, every single thing, in every single way. And I'd like to know what you think out there. Just give me your thoughts down below. Thank you very much once again for listening. Just let me know what you think. As always, keep it civil. Special thanks to Denofgeek. I'm going to leave a link down in the doobly-doo for that site, because it's a really interesting site for sci-fi and TV shows and such, and it's pretty much a nerd mecca. So I hope you all go check that out. I got a lot of their insight also from their reviews of Defiance. So until then, everyone, thank you very much, and I promise you next season, should there be a third season, I'll be doing things on a much more episodic basis. Once again, I apologize for what I did. And as always, everyone, this is DecKrash, better known as Brandon. And as always, stay lucky and stay blessed. Take care.